Hello again, and welcome to this lesson on minor scales and minor key signatures. So like the major scale, a minor scale is a diatonic scale, meaning it has 7 pitches in the scale and it uses all the letters of the musical alphabet. But minor scales have a different pattern of whole and half steps than major scales have. Whereas major scales are whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, the half steps in minor come in a different place. Whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. Another way of remembering this is that they occur between scale degrees 2 and 3 and between scale degrees 5 and 6. So there's a whole step, then a half step between 2 and 3, whole step, half step between 5 and 6, and then 2 more whole steps. If you start on A, then this pattern of whole and half steps occurs naturally. So A minor is the natural or white key minor. So I could play this. And notice that between 2 and 3 is a half step. Between 5 and 6 is the half step. And that creates the unique sound that makes a minor scale what it is. So as long as you replicate that pattern of whole and half steps, you will create the minor scale. Now, scale degrees 6 and 7 of minor scales are sometimes variable. They can sometimes be raised, which creates different forms of the minor scale, as we'll see on the next page here. The form of the minor scale we've been talking about so far is also known as the natural minor scale. That's the minor scale in its natural, unaltered state. If you were to take a natural minor scale and raise scale degree 7 only, then this creates what we call harmonic minor. So, for example, if I had A natural minor and I raised scale degree 7 to G sharp, then I would get this. Okay? The reason that you raise scale degree 7 is to create a leading tone into the tonic. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, do. The ti, do leading tone sound is the reason for harmonic minor. But there's also kind of an awkward interval between 6 and 7. That's what we call an augmented second, and it sounds a bit awkward, and it's a little bit hard to sing. So another form of the minor scale tries to solve that awkward skip by raising scale degree 7 by a half step as well. So melodic minor features both a raised scale degree 6 and a raised scale degree 7 in order to make a more smooth melodic line. Okay? And you note this is only used generally in ascending when you're striding upwards towards that tonic. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And when you come down, the normal thing to do is go back to the natural minor, which is a more relaxed descent, right? So melodic minor has 2 forms, essentially. When you go up, it's raised scale degree 6 and 7, and when you come down, you go back to natural minor. So you shouldn't really think of these as completely different minor scales. In reality, it's just that scales degrees 6 and 7 are variable. Sometimes they're raised, sometimes they're not. There are names for these, but the natural minor scale is the one on which the others are based. Now that we've talked about major keys and minor keys, let's talk about some of the ways that these can be related to each other. First of all, we're going to discuss parallel keys. Parallel keys essentially have the same tonic. They start on the same pitch. So C major and C minor are parallel keys. In other words, the parallel minor of C major is C minor. To change a major scale into its parallel minor, there's just 3 pitches that are different. Scale degrees 3, 6, and 7 are lowered by a half step from C major. So here's C major. If I lower 3, 6, and 7, I get C minor. You can do that with any major scale. Lower the scale degrees 3, 6, and 7, and you'll have the parallel minor. And in the other direction, if you have a minor scale and you raise scale degrees 3, 6, and 7, you have the parallel major. In terms of key signatures, this would also mean that they would differ by 3 accidentals. So C minor has 3 more flats than C major. So in order to change a major key signature into a minor key signature, you could add 3 flats or subtract 3 sharps. And then vice versa, to change minor into major, you can remove 3 flats or add 3 sharps. The other type of relationship between major and minor keys is relative. So relative keys do not have the same tonic like parallel keys. They start on different pitches, but they do have the same key signature. So you might remember that as you having the same DNA as one of your relatives. And we could think of the key signature as the DNA that makes these relative keys the same or related. So for example, the relative minor of C major would be A minor because both of these keys have no sharps or flats. That is, they have the same key signature. Alright, so C major and A minor are relative keys. You can also think of a minor scale, the relative minor scale, is starting on scale degree 6 of its relative major and using the same pitches. Let me illustrate that. So if I'm in C major and I start on scale degree 6, A, B, C, D, E, F, G would be the relative minor. And in the same way, a major scale would start on scale degree 3 of its relative minor. So if I have a minor scale and I go to scale degree 3, then I can find the relative major starting on scale degree 3. C, D, E, F, G, A, B would be the relative major of A natural minor. So if you followed that, that's the same, that pattern will work for all major and minor keys. You can look at those scale degrees and see the relative major or minor from the scale. Okay, and now we're going to return to the circle of fifths. We can use the circle of fifths not only to visualize major keys, but also the minor keys. So in this circle, the keys on the outside, as we discussed previously, are the major keys, and inside we see the major key signatures. The keys around the inside of the circle are their relative minors. So C and A are relative keys because they have this key signature. G major and E minor are relative. D major and B minor are relative. And you can associate the relatives and their key signatures in this single diagram. You see the same pattern of lettering that we've seen before, F, C, G, D, A, E, B, but it's offset by 3 pie slices, if you want to think of it as pie slices, right? So there you have it. You can see the relative minors, the relative majors, all of the key signatures. We have our enharmonic keys down here, and it's an overall good way of visualizing major and minor keys and key signatures. All right, that's what we've got for this lesson. So go ahead and take the quiz that follows.